Control of the United States Senate will flip from Republicans to Democrats this week once Georgia certifies the results of the two Senate runoffs there. Democrats will have the narrowest of majorities, 50-50. Vice President Kamala Harris breaking ties. One big decision is when to schedule President Trump's impeachment trial. Conviction, though, viewed as unlikely because it would take 17 or 18 Republican votes. But the Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, says he has an open mind. That makes Trump allies in the Senate furious.
They will destroy the Republican Party. If leadership is complicit with an impeachment, or if leadership votes for an impeachment, they will destroy the party. Impeachment is purely a partisan thing. It's for these moral, I'm so much better than you and you're a bad person because I'm so moral. These are the kind of people that are going to do this.
Impeachment complicates things for the new administration. The president-elect is asking the Senate now to split its days, use mornings to confirm his cabinet picks, and consider a new coronavirus relief package, have the trial in the afternoon. With us this Sunday to discuss the challenges ahead, Senator Angus King of Maine. He's an independent who votes with the Democrats on organizational issues. Senator, I'm grateful for your time this Sunday. Let's start with your take on the math. You're an independent who votes with the Democrats on most issues. I assume you're a yes to convict on impeachment. But is there any way that you think you can get 17 or 18 Republican votes, what you would need to convict the president?
John, in talking to some of my Republican colleagues, I think there are two missing pieces of evidence. Of course, a lot of the evidence is out in front of us, and we all saw it in real time. This is probably the first impeachment trial in history where the Senate was also witnesses of what went on. But there are two missing pieces that I think could have a dramatic influence. One is, what did the president know before he went out that morning to talk to that crowd? In other words, what was the intelligence, and did he know that there was a likelihood of violence and a violent siege of the Capitol? That's number one. Number two, what did the president do that afternoon? And there are reports that he watched TV. The word I heard was he was delighted, and that he resisted any effort to try to ameliorate or mitigate the situation. If those two things are validated, and it will take some evidence, and then we're back into the situation we were a year ago of, does the president stonewall and there are no witnesses and no documents? But if those two things are validated, that he knew that there was a danger of violence and that he willfully and consciously refrained from stopping it, I think that could change some minds and make this a different discussion over the next several weeks.
We'll watch as that goes forward. You're on the Intelligence Committee, so you have access to the classified briefings, and even more, we get scary information that's made public. You get access to much more. But I want you to listen here. This is a freshman House Republican, Peter Meijer, one of the 10 who decided to vote to impeach the president in the House. Listen to how he describes his life right now.
I have colleagues who are now traveling with armed escorts out of the fear for their safety. Many of us are altering our routines, working to get body armor, which is a reimbursable purchase that we can make. It's sad that we have to get to that point, but our expectation is that someone may try to kill us.
Our expectation is that someone may try to kill us. That's a new member of the United States Congress who took a vote. You can agree or disagree with it. He believes a vote of principle. What are you hearing about the threat against members of Congress like yourself and against the Capitol building and against the country?
Well, there's no question that there are threats out there. I mean, the blogosphere is just full of talk of violent revolution and hanging traitors and those kinds of things. John, what's really awful about this is that this was created by the President of the United States. Now, there was always these militia groups and those kinds of things, but by perpetrating the underlying lie that the election was stolen, that there was fraud, and beating it into people's heads for 2 or 3 months, it created a situation. He could have ameliorated this, a week or two. Let him sue. Let him have his day in court. Let him have his recounts. But around the 1st of December, when all that was over, that was the time to graciously concede, as virtually every other losing presidential candidate in our history has done, and tamp down what's going on instead of trying to inflame it. And there he was the morning of January 6th, encouraging this crowd to go up to the Capitol. His own vice president, who's been incredibly loyal, was at risk. This is in his control, and he's done practically nothing. He does these sort of pro forma, be peaceful statements, but there's always a wink and a nod. And they're not. It's not helping, and that's what's so really awful about this is that he did this for so long.
He does that when his lawyers tell him he needs to do it in case he gets sued or prosecuted. It's not so much of a direct call. So one of the questions the new president, Joe Biden, will face, so when he takes office next Wednesday, is what to do about the former president. President Trump's former deputy CIA director, DNI, Sue Gordon, wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post saying that Joe Biden essentially should cut off his access to any intelligence. Trump has significant business entanglements that involve foreign entities. It's not clear that he understands the tradecraft to which he has been exposed. The reasons, the knowledge he has understands must be protected from disclosure. It is the president's call whether Donald Trump gets access to pretty much anything in the post-presidency. Should Joe Biden say, cut him off, he's dangerous?
Yes. I mean, there's a certain irony here because this is a president who's become somewhat famous for not paying attention to intelligence and not really taking the daily brief that he's supposed to take and not really being very interested. But yes, there's a grave danger of him inadvertently or willfully revealing classified information that would compromise sources and methods. And there's no upside. There's no reason that he needs to have this information. It's a courtesy that's been passed on from president to president, but there's no legal requirement. And I think given his past history of being fast and loose with intelligence data, it ought to be that ought to be an easy decision for the incoming president.
What is this moment for Joe Biden? He says he wants the Senate to, in the morning, do some business, work on his new stimulus plan, confirm his team and his cabinet. They released yesterday a memo. He's going to have a lot of executive actions out of the gate. He becomes president at a moment of so many crises. Do you see a climate in the United States Senate? Many people say, Trump's going to stoke this. No. Other people say, well, actually, a lot of Republicans are going to want to prove Washington can do some things. When it comes to new stimulus, when it comes to other Biden agenda items, is there a possibility of progress at this moment, or are we polarized even more so because of the Trump effect?
No, I think that there is an opportunity, and I think that the case study was the stimulus package that we passed back in December, which was based upon a bipartisan negotiation that took place during the months of November and December. So I can tell you there's a strong desire on both sides to get things done, to act like senators, to debate bills, to have amendments, to have votes on the floor. And I think there's also a widespread realization that we need to do more in the way of stimulus and dealing with the virus. Now, when you get to details, how much, how big, what should the stimulus package look like, what are the limitations, all those, there's going to be a lot of negotiation. But I do think there's an opportunity to really move forward. And I think a lot is going to depend upon Mitch McConnell's attitude. If he takes the attitude that apparently he articulated back when President Obama came in, we're going to do everything we can to stop this, to cripple this administration, to make it a one-term presidency, then we got trouble. But I think his caucus is not going to allow him to take that kind of straight-up obstructionist position. And I think you're going to see that there's going to be some pretty serious bipartisan negotiation. Now, I'm an idealist, John. I mean, I always try to find the bright side, and maybe I'm being too optimistic here, but I can tell you from talking to Republicans and Democrats, there are a lot of people that want to move this country forward.
We'll get to put your optimism to the test in just a matter of days. Just a matter of days. We'll see how it plays out. Senator Angus King of Maine, grateful for your time on this very important Sunday, sir. Thank you.